Chapter 12. The Goddess of the Night. Of the 6 patient rooms, only the first one could be opened. Was it because only this room was set to be openable? Or was it that his current abilities only allowed him to open this one door, just like the door he had been knocking on for 5 years? After knocking on that door for so long, Lin Chia's senses had sharpened upon waking up, enabling him to enter the hospital. But would the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th rooms also require him to strengthen his abilities before he could open them? Lin Chia wasn't sure, and he didn't have time to dwell on it now. In front of him, the once sealed door to the patient room was slowly opening. The room inside was small and dimly lit. At its center sat a woman in a starry black gown, gazing blankly ahead. Aside from her and the chair she occupied, there was nothing else in the dark room. Lin Chia approached cautiously, thinking he should at least be polite. He put on a very official smile and waved at the woman. "Hello, I'm Lin Chia." No matter who she was, starting with politeness couldn't hurt. As the saying goes, you don't hit a person with a smiling face. If he was courteous, even if she was a deity, she shouldn't make things difficult for him. However, despite Lin Chia's frozen smile, the woman in black remained motionless, like a statue. Gritting his teeth, Lin Chia decided to enter the room. The moment he stepped inside, words suddenly appeared on the wall behind the woman. Room 1. Patient. Nix. Task. Assist Nix in treating her mental illness. As the treatment progresses, at 1%, 50%, and 100%, you may randomly extract some of Nix's abilities. ***. Current treatment progress, 0%. Nix? Lin Chia gasped as he read the text on the wall. Although he wasn't well-versed in mythology, he had heard of Nix as one of the primordial gods in Greek mythology. She was one of the deities at the very top of the mythological hierarchy. So, the woman sitting here, seemingly dazed, was the famous goddess of the night? Her cold, elegant demeanor, flawless features, flowing black hair cascading like a waterfall, and her starry black dress, as deep as the night sky, made her pale skin look as delicate as snow. Even though her eyes were vacant, the aura she exuded was far beyond anything human. Even the empresses from history couldn't compare. Nix was a goddess, a queen of the night. Lin Chia stroked his chin, closely examining Nix. Having seen a deity before, he felt that Nix seemed to lack something compared to the seraphim he had encountered on the moon. Divinity? Power? Authority? Or was it all missing? He wasn't sure, but he could guess that Nix's current state was closely related to her illness. But how could a deity at the pinnacle of mythology be sick? Was her illness a natural occurrence or caused by someone? If it was natural, Lin Chia had a hard time believing it. But if it was caused by someone, what kind of existence could induce a goddess like Nix to become ill? And a mental illness at that. According to the wall's text, Lin Chia needed to try helping Nix with her illness. But what exactly was her illness? As someone who had been a mental health patient before, Lin Chia had some knowledge of mental illnesses, which generally fell into categories like depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, and delusions. To treat Nix, he needed to first determine what illness she had. Lin Chia pondered for a moment, then squatted in front of Nix and waved his hand in front of her eyes. "Can you hear me?" Lin Chia asked softly by her ear. Suddenly, Nix's body twitched, startling Lin Chia, who instinctively took a few steps back. Then, Nix's head turned rigidly toward Lin Chia, her vacant eyes fixed on him. Lin Chia swallowed nervously and stood still. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. As Nix's gaze made Lin Chia's scalp tingle, her expression changed. From vacant to confused. From confused to shocked. From shocked to tearful. Nix's body trembled slightly, tears welling up in her eyes. Her lips parted with difficulty, and after a long moment of choking up, she hoarsely said, "I finally found you, my child." At that moment, Lin Chia felt like an electric shock ran from his feet to his brain, leaving him stunned. She? Me? Child? Huh? Lin Chia didn't remember what his parents looked like. After all, they had disappeared after leaving him with his aunt. But his mother should have been, probably, maybe, a human, not the goddess of the night. No, wait a minute. How is the foreign goddess of the night speaking fluent Chinese? Oh right, this is my dream. It makes sense that I can understand the language of gods. Perhaps it's brainwave transmission? While Lin Chia was lost in thought, Nix stood up, opened her arms and staggered toward him. She ran faster and faster, her expression growing more and more excited. At that moment, Lin Chia's mind was a mess. He instinctively opened his arms, ready to embrace the goddess of the night. However, Nix ran past Lin Chia and hugged the small vase on the windowsill. Nix clung to the vase, tears streaming down her face. "My child, you're still alive. I finally found you." Lin Chia. Next, Nix's gaze fell on the chair she had been sitting on for who knows how long. After a moment of dazedness, she rushed forward, hugging both the chair and the vase, crying once more, "Hypnos, my child, you're here too." Confused, Lin Chia stood like a statue, watching Nix sob over the vase, the chair, the wall, and even the air, believing them to be her children. Lin Chia. "I think I might know what's wrong with her. This illness is severe." In the morning, Lin Chia woke up with a start, staring at the bare ceiling and sighing in frustration. After spending the night with Nix, Lin Chia felt utterly drained. Just as he was about to get up, he suddenly noticed something. In his mind, the mist-covered god's mental hospital floated, and he seemed to have established a close connection with it. Now, he didn't need to sleep to connect his consciousness to the mental hospital. He could immerse himself in it at any time. Is this the benefit of opening the door? Lin Chia thought as he tried to connect his consciousness to the hospital, enabling him to sense everything happening inside. Of course, the 5 sealed rooms remained inaccessible. At this moment, Nix was in the courtyard, hugging the vase and the chair, talking to the air beside her, her words indistinct. Lin Chia sat on the bed, rubbing his eyes in frustration. Treating an illness. I'm not a doctor. How am I supposed to help her? Suddenly, Lin Chia's eyes lit up, as if he had just thought of something. His eyes narrowed slightly, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 13. He ran away. In the city of Tsangnan, in a high-rise building, creak, the door slowly opened, and Zhao Kongqing walked in, looking dejected and sighing from time to time. "Old Zhao, what's wrong with you?" The 5 people sitting inside looked at Zhao Kongqing with surprise. "Did you get hurt last night? Judging by your expression, it seems like a breakup is more likely." "Damn, old Zhao, don't tell me your wife is filing for divorce. Stop talking nonsense." The 5 people started guessing among themselves. After a while, Zhao Kongqing sighed deeply. "Am I really that unattractive?" The 5 exchanged glances, rolling their eyes in unison, pretending not to hear that question, and continued with their tasks, sharpening knives, cleaning guns, playing with their phones, or napping. "I'm serious. I'm really asking you." Zhao Kongqing grew anxious. Seeing no one paying attention to him, Hong Ying, who was cleaning a gun, sighed and asked, "Brother Kongqing, are you emotionally distressed?" "Sort of," Zhao Kongqing replied, pausing. "I encountered the owner of the Golden Forbidden Ruins last night." At these words, everyone's eyes widened, and they stopped what they were doing, their eyes gleaming with interest. "That suspected Seraphim agent?" "Yes." "Is he very strong?" "Who is he?" "You're thinking too much," Zhao Kongqing shook his head. "He's just an ordinary high school student. The Klein level power fluctuation is likely just residual power left by the Seraphim. He's currently just a rookie barely entering the light realm." Hearing this, a hint of disappointment appeared in their eyes. "We thought a Klein-level powerhouse had arrived in Tsangnan City. However, if the extremely dangerous god really chose an agent and that agent reached the Klein level, the higher-ups would definitely know." A man sitting on the sofa narrowed his eyes. "Regardless, the Seraphim choosing an agent and bestowing a divine ruin is a major event. We need to report it to the higher-ups immediately. By the way, old Zhao, since you encountered him, where is he? You didn't bring him back?" "He ran away," Zhao Kongqing said gloomily. "He told me he was going to get his backpack, and while I was distracted, he ran off." The room fell silent. Just as everyone was preparing to mock him, the door opened again. A man in a dark red cloak walked in, his face stained with blood, and his steps heavy as if laden with lead. Seeing this man, everyone, including Zhao Kongqing, immediately stood up. Captain, are you all right?" The captain waved his hand, removing the blood-stained cloak, and sat down on a small stool by the door, looking profoundly exhausted. "I'm fine, but the ghost-faced king ran away." The faces of the group instantly turned serious. The captain continued, "Last night, I chased the ghost-faced king to the suburbs north of the city, fought it, and it was seriously injured. Later, it forcefully escaped by severely injuring its own essence." So, the ghost-faced king may have already escaped from Tsangnan City? Not necessarily. The man on the sofa suddenly spoke up. Everyone looked at him. The captain raised an eyebrow. "Go ahead, Xiangnan." Wu Xiangnan slowly stood up, pulled out a map of Tsangnan City and its surroundings from beneath the sofa, and spread it out on the floor. Tsangnan City is relatively isolated, and the nearest city is several dozen kilometers away. The area where Captain fought the ghost-faced king last night is far from the nearest city. Wu Xiangnan drew a circle on the map. "So what?" Hong Ying asked, puzzled. At this moment, the captain's eyes began to brighten. The ghost-faced king is seriously injured. It can't cover such a distance without restoring its strength. Wu Xiangnan continued, "If the ghost-faced king wants to restore its strength, it must feed on humans. So, it means it will definitely return to Tsangnan City?" "Exactly." Zhao Kongqing frowned slightly. "But Tsangnan City is so large. We have no idea where it might appear." "Sewers." Wu Xiangnan adjusted his glasses and used a red pen to draw a curved line on the map. Ghost-faced creatures prefer sewers, and the ghost-faced king previously escaped through the sewers. The only sewer connecting to the northern suburbs is one. So, the ghost-faced king is likely to appear somewhere along this sewer line. Immediately dispatch people to search along this sewer. This time, we can't let it escape. The captain's eyes flashed with cold determination, and he issued the order. "Understood. By the way, there's one more thing." Wu Xiangnan turned to Zhao Kongqing. "You must bring back the Seraphim's agent. His potential is enormous and must not fall into the hands of the old God Church. In some ways, this task takes priority over eliminating the ghost-faced king." Zhao Kongqing straightened his chest. "Leave it to me. I'll personally catch that kid." "But he ran away, right? How will you find him?" Hong Ying muttered. "He was wearing a school uniform from number 2 middle school. I'll wait for him at the school gate today. I don't believe I can't catch him." Zhao Kongqing's mouth curled into a confident smile. "Brother, why aren't you going to school today?" Yang Jin looked at Lin Xie, who was not wearing his school uniform and didn't have his backpack, with curiosity. "Got some things to deal with today, so I'm skipping," Lin Xie replied, putting on his shoes and opening the door. "Is Aunt still asleep?" "She just came back an hour ago." "Got it. Go to school early. Don't follow my example." "Okay." Lin Xie closed the door, quietly taking off the black silk ribbon from his eyes and putting it in his pocket. His eyes had returned to normal, but he hadn't told Aunt or Yang Jin yet. The first reason was that Aunt had been on a night shift, so they hadn't seen each other. The second reason was that Lin Xie had just gained this ability and was still unable to fully control the power in his eyes. The golden light occasionally flared up, though not very noticeable. If Aunt or Yang Jin saw it, they'd likely force him to get his eyes checked, wasting money. He planned to announce it only when he could fully control his eyes. But since he was already out, there was no need to keep wearing the black ribbon. It was too conspicuous. Lin Xie took out the sunglasses Yang Jin had bought for him from his pocket, put them on, and strode toward the bus stop. After over an hour of bumpy travel, Lin Xie finally arrived at his destination, Sunshine Mental Hospital. The last time Lin Xie visited, it had been 10 years ago. In these 10 years, Lin Xie had changed a lot, and so had this mental hospital. All the old walls had been renovated, the entrance was twice as wide as before, and 2 modern high-rise buildings had replaced the original 3-story building. Even the name, Sunshine Mental Hospital, was now embossed in gilded letters. Standing at the entrance, Lin Xie couldn't relate the modern hospital to the small building in his memory. The only thing that hadn't changed was probably the old doorman. He had only become much more hunched and his hair much grayer. The old doorman seemed to have noticed Lin Xie. He squinted his eyes and raised his right hand, pointing at Lin Xie. Just as Lin Xie thought the old man remembered him and was about to greet him, the old man shouted, "Hey, you there. You're blocking the car behind you."